Welcome to the ANEW Insight Podcast, empowering and inspiring your journey to optimal health. Hosted by Dr. Supatra Tovar, clinical psychologist, registered dietitian, fitness expert, and author of Deprogram Diet Culture. Rethink your relationship with food, heal your mind, and live a diet-free life. I follow my guests' journey to optimal health, providing you with the keys to unlock your own wellness path. Tune in and evolve with us. Welcome back, everyone. We are back for our second half of our amazing interview with internationally recognized mindset trainer, master of NLP and hypnotherapy, fellow TEDx Temecula speaker, and founder of Neuromasters Academy, Reg Malhotra. Reg gave us amazing insight into ways to release emotional blocks to help improve our mindset, and I cannot wait to pick his brain some more. Welcome back, Reg.
Great to be here again.
Yay. So I want to talk about high achievers. I work with a lot of high achievers myself, and there are a lot of mindset blind spots that I think are particular to high achievers who might be burned out or constantly overwhelmed. What are some of those blind spots?
One of the biggest ones that I've found, and this is after working with, high achievers across professions, business owners in particular, and also sports athletes, is the one of the biggest blind spots or issues is carrying their past failures like a backpack, never put down. Now that can be
Mm.
useful, sure. It's like I don't want to have that occur ever again. But that in itself, the motivation, it brings with it a lot of anxiety, fear, the need to prove. And I think it's better to be in many ways someone who is holding themselves accountable. But I think that's a big one. The other one is thinking that they should be strong all the time, because now you have this image to maintain, and that can eventually lead to inability to ask for help, and projecting that idea of strength all the time in every area, because it goes down to the identity level, right? And again, I'm going to balance this up. It's better to have an identity that says, hey, I can handle this, I can solve problems. But I've actually seen some high achievers, just they will quietly suffer when things are going wrong. They won't reach out, and a lot of the times initially I have to almost prime them in many different ways and frame them to be able to go, hey, I haven't got this figured out, I'm going to need to talk to you. Sometimes they can disappear for periods of time.
Absolutely. And I think that there are not only two camps, but there can be two camps of high achievers. I think that there are some that are really driven by their mission and
Yes.
they really want to get the word out and they're super excited about it. And it's, if you think of like Tony Robbins and Joe Dispenza and people who are like, oh my gosh, I have so much to share with you. And that's what makes them high achievers.
Yeah.
And then I think you have another camp, and they are driven by the need to be perfect, the
Yes.
need to show that they can do X, Y, and Z. That talk about this camp, because I think this camp, what drives them is hurting them. What have you seen in your work?
Yeah. What drives them, typically, I heard someone say, let's take an entrepreneur for an example, someone who goes out and, like you said, mission or solving a problem or putting something great out into the world. Someone said it, I'm not sure how much truth there is, that you'd have to be crazy to do that, right? So the comment made was almost every entrepreneur is trying to prove something, right? You'd have to be crazy to go in every day and have not have that certainty, putting out fires. So you need something special inside of you. Sometimes it is that need to prove, sometimes to prove other people wrong, and sometimes it's to prove to themselves that they can do it. So I want to tap into the one way unconsciously there is that constant drive to prove other. This can be very useful, by the way. In fact, if you speak to a lot of high performers, that is the story. I experienced this, or I got told this, and I wanted to prove it. That can be fine up to a point. It can drive you, but at some stage, that is going to lead to a thing we call not enoughness. This we may not know, but a lot of high performers are running this story knowingly or unknowingly, that I need to do more to prove my existence. You say, how far do you want to go? This can go to so many directions in
Mm,
this camp. So I think and then our nervous system gets conditioned to use anxiety. This is from an NLP perspective. You know that chain I spoke about? You could have a visual, you could have a self talk, you have a feeling. If I asked in a program of mine, I would say to you, 50% of people are motivated, and I get the truth on there, by anxiety. Let this sink in. You know, those last minute people, and I know because I was that. If I got anxiety about getting a project done, people got 30 days to do it. I used to do it in the last 3 days. I'd move heaven and earth to
mm.
get it done. And we can then our nervous system gets conditioned to it. So we are driven by anxiety. Our nervous system looks for it to create that stimulation, that energy to get things done. And that can have
Yes.
very severe health, digestion, and overall mental wellness effects.
Yes, and I think it comes from a very, very deep place. Oftentimes, when I see people who practice perfectionism, who are people pleasers, they come from environments where nothing was good enough, that there nothing that they could do would please their caregiver. And they would have to, walk on eggshells, perform backflips, whatever it was, just to feel safe. So I think that this again comes down to a trauma response, and perfectionism can really take a toll on you, because what I think people don't tend to understand is that you'll never please anyone enough for it to create safety for you. You'll never get someone happy enough so that you feel safe. And the only way that you will ever feel safe is through yourself and your nervous system, and really coming to understand that. So, how do you help people who may be in spiraling in that change their mindset to something that is more productive and helpful for them?
My favorite go to place is a thing we call values. And I don't mean those corporate values, I mean personal, individual values. One of the greatest discoveries for me through this field was, what is a value? How does it drive us? Are we, have we designed our life in accordance, largely in accordance with our value system? And if not, are we aware of the gap? This was an absolute game changer. And I really teach that. I have technical processes that help people establish what those values are, because values are stored in the nervous system. Like, what is a value? What's important to you? Not necessarily what you love, what's important to you. So, one of the first things, whether it's a high achiever or someone else who's coming from the bottom and redesigning their life, how much of your current life is organized? You know, I don't know if you heard about this, but even your brain, your prefrontal cortex, is designed to produce more energy for you, more motivation when you're in line with your values. Often people say, I'm trying to find myself. You don't need to find yourself. All you need to establish is how much of your life is in accordance with your values. This was a great discovery for me. And once I found, I'm like, oh my God. And I kind of come up with this gauge, like at least 70 to 80% of your life should be in accordance with your values. That's, you're winning. You're winning. Your definition of success is now yours, right? If my values, for example, one of my top values is energy. One of my top values is, you know, eh, massive development in consciousness, in my ability to
Mhm.
perceive things. One of my top values is people. So my life is not designed. I'm not just doing what I have to do. And I had to make some moves. You got to be strategic about it. You got to exit where you are. One of my top values is my health, my wife. So I'm like, how much of my life is currently designed that more of my time, energy, money, and enthusiasm is dedicated to that. That's where my go-to place is.
How do you get people then if they've identified their values, say it is people or helping people,
Yep.
and they're in a profession that is the opposite of that.
Yep.
How do you help people navigate toward being more aligned with their values?
Well, first thing first, we address their significant emotional events, right? Through the work, we'll make sure they're not carrying any old stories or trauma responses, and they're more in, in a calmer place of what they believe about themselves. There are three things that I get people to audit. What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about others? And what do you believe about possibilities?
Mm.
Right? Once we get that, we look at, okay, some of these things need to change. Once that's all clear, we then it's a two-step approach. You've designed your whole life maybe by someone else's values. That's a big one.
Oh,
Right?
I see it all the time.
You see it all
Mhm.
the time, right? And many times we we give in to our needs over our values. So you need a two-step approach rather than saying, oh my god, my life is not. No, 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 stop. You have taken responsibility. Maybe you have a mortgage, maybe you have children, maybe you have, gone into a particular profession and you have responsibilities to that now. So you may need a two-step approach. Once you clear on who you truly are, what your values are, begin. Step one is locking in the future and then making changes. It's kind of almost like an escape plan from your current.
Mm.
Then because you got to be realistic here. You can't just go, that's it. That's my values. Screw everybody else now because you know this. And this is one of the problems in personal development, right?
Mhm.
People learn all this stuff and they go, oh my God, I'm going to change everything. I'm going to divorce. No, 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 no. You still have principles that you need to follow. So that's how I do it. I say, okay, let's look at where you're at, what you can change, have a time frame, and then make your move. Your brain, your nervous system, your entire life is going to thank you for it for a very long time. This is exactly my story as well, by the way.
Mhm.
It's
How so? Give me a picture of that.
well, because a lot of my life was designed around what I thought was my values, but when I audited it, of course it wasn't my values. It's what was the right thing to do.
Mhm. I absolutely agree that you once you figure out your values, once you figure out what you were meant to do, not necessarily what your parents told you you needed to be or society told you needed to be, the next step is visualizing where you'd like to be. Most people don't spend time there. They spend time thinking about all the bad things that could happen, all the ways that can go wrong, rather than what could go right if I were to change my career. Say it's from, being a lawyer to being a therapist. That's was your
Yes.
goal, your what you align with the most. Well, what does it take to get there? You get you can see the end goal, which is I'd like to have my own private practice, right? Well, what are the steps that
Needed
you
to
need
get
to
there.
take to get there? If you can see that end goal and you know it's possible, there are methodical steps that can happen. And if you were to be able to break all of that down into actionable steps, well, today, what do I need to do? I need to go and research schools. And maybe because I'm working right now, I need to look at a school where I can go in the evening and do it online and still be working. And then if you just did that, one little step there to the next little step, to the next little step, to the next little step, before you know it, you're there. And all it takes is visualizing the best case outcome as opposed to the worst case outcome. And that's like scarcity mindset. So I would really like to pick your brain a little bit more about scarcity mindset. Why do people, especially in this culture today, why are people more prone to scarcity mindset than they are to abundance mindset?
Scarcity, yeah, we see that a lot too. I think that's again, I would call it almost like a dis-ease because it's so deeply lodged in. So scarcity comes from an let me can I talk in NLP terms a little bit here? Yeah.
Please.
So NLP, we spoke about it's unpacking. So when you start unpacking things, you have to look at the six different modalities, which is pretty simple. Like, what we call as five senses plus self-talk: visual, auditory, kinesthetic. So we look at the world, everything, in a series of things that comprise of something you see, something you hear, something you feel. Now, these things are not small things. Imagine growing up in an environment where there's not enough, you're told there's not enough, you see there's not enough, whether on TV, whether through movies, whether through behaviors of family members, whether through the country you're in, whether through your environment. Everything is saying to you in those formative years, survive. Survival is hard. Then you actually go and experience it, kinesthetic feeling. You go to maybe you've had 100 applications for a job. Maybe you someone has taken something of yours. Maybe you've seen your parents suffer because they lost something. It was very hard for them to recover. So that's so deep, right? Scarcity can get lodged in there. Now it's like there's not enough. The second limb to that is every single thing is shouting at us one thing: have a look around. There's not enough. There's not enough water. There's not enough food. There's not enough land. There's not enough, not enough, not enough, not enough. It's in TV, it's in social media, it's in politics now, it's everywhere. Everything is showing us you better fear there's not enough. How long do you takes? How long do you think it takes before there's not enough to I'm not enough?
Yes.
Because it's all the time. VAK, all that. You see it, you hear about it, you feel it. So the simple ideas, it's not that complex actually. No matter where you are right now, choose to expose. This is a hack, really. Expose yourself to stories about people who made it in spite of adversity. You know what they say: if you read about people who overcame it, it becomes you. Expose yourself to ideas, environments that shout abundance. And this is very hard for people to do, by the way. Many years ago, I used to ask people to go on the weekends, especially if abundance is one of the, they have so many limiting ideas about people who have abundance. People secretly have that, by the way. They look down on people. They think they're skeptical. I used to, many years ago, I used to send people to go to weekend inspections of large homes. I mean, those big, grand homes. I said, I want you to register for it. It don't cost you anything. I want you to walk through it. You see, the brain does very well when it's been in environments. It's one thing to have a vision board and just look at it, but you've never been in there. And I used to send them, and they used to go on weekends, and they'd go to these gorgeous mansions, and they would, and I asked them, look at the pillars, look at the views, look at the high ceilings. Remind yourself that there is enough. So, unfortunately or fortunately, the brain needs a lot of reminders. You need to take part in activities that remind you of. I think small things like going to the ocean, going to the beach, you realize how small we are.
Mhm.
So how long is a piece of string here? So like there's so many ways. If you haven't had the advantage of being exposed to abundance, you can now.
Yes.
And then of course there is the self-talk and the stories and doing things that make you feel abundant. Even if you don't have a lot, there's a lot of activities you can do. That favorite park, go and have that expensive coffee, couple of dollars more. Something that constantly is reminding your system there's enough, because the world will never stop shouting at you that there's not enough.
It's so true. We live in this doom scrolling world. We live in our social media algorithm, which constantly, through advertising, everything tells us that we won't ever have enough, that we need to have this to be bettered, that the sky is falling, that the world is terrible. We see this all the time. And I think it is so important for us to raise our consciousness and see that we do not have to condition ourselves to that. We can become aware that usually that kind of atmosphere, that kind of mindset is so tied to consumerism. People are trying to get us to buy something because they make us feel like we're not enough or the world is scarce or we'll never have enough. It is so important to shift that mindset, to shift our perspective. You can become very strategic
Mhm.
about what you see, and that's what you're talking about. I love the idea of just taking yourself out of your environment and going and seeing other environments that you want, that you are, curious about, that are possible for you, and then deconditioning yourself. We don't have to watch the news all day, you guys. Is that going to be good for us? Are we really going to better ourselves? I mean, I recommend people have a pretty strict media diet. Yeah, we should know what's going on in the world. Figure it out. Go look at it real quick in the morning, look at it real quick in the afternoon. What happened in the world? That's all I need to see, because if we're focusing on that, that's taking us so far away from what we actually want, which is abundance, peace, doing what we love, being around people that we love. So if we shift our focus to paying attention to those things, we tend to get more of those things. And I think that that helps us hone our emotional intelligence. I think
Yes.
everyone has really profound levels of emotional intelligence, but sometimes we just get conditioned into just following things blindly and not really being intentional with what we're looking at and what we're thinking about. So, talk about that a little bit, emotional intelligence and how that might, honing those skills, how that might make us more resilient and get us what we want.
Yeah, emotional intelligence, like you said, everybody, has a level of emotional intelligence until all the things happen and until we get exposed to all of the other things that tell us otherwise. So the the greatest part of emotional intelligence for me is the ability to have awareness about what's happening inside. That helps with not reacting. You know what they say, the words you say will never come back. So having the ability to stop, to pause, to think, to breathe, all those things in order to respond and not react is the first sign to me of emotional intelligence. So not letting something just immediately impact you, right? And understanding when this is a I think this is easier than it's looks, but just having a healthy relationship with your emotions, not poo-pooing them, understanding even if fear comes up. There's so many ways in which you can connect with your feelings and emotions. Just being present to them alone massively enhances your I believe there is a relationship we have with our emotions, right? Just like any relationship. Either you're avoidant, you don't want to deal with it, or you have a bad meaning about them. That's think about it, having a relationship with a person, or you are misinterpreting them, or you are constantly reacting to them, or you have retreated, you are basically shut down because it's in the body, right? So I think to
Mhm.
me emotional intelligence is understanding what emotions are, making sure that your current emotions are not an outcome of a collection of events from the past. So then clean that stuff and then deal with because emotions are, that movie Inside Out for kids. I actually ran a workshop
Mhm.
for teenagers and kids just yesterday, and I showed them a
Yep.
little scene on how emotions are the helpers. How do we how do we get to a point that we realize emotions are the helpers? They are the little helpers. Do we have a good relationship with them? The longer you
Oh, I
don't,
love that.
yeah,
That is, yes, and that's what I do with my kid clients as well, is that really the emotions are kind of the gateway to understanding yourself.
yeah,
And this was a part of my TED talk, is that I think that once we are nervous system regulated, so when we really kind of drop down into our bodies, get out of our, not so nice thinking mind, get into our bodies and what our heart and our gut are saying, and we tap into our intuitive selves. Now, that can be, you can use your intuitive self for everything, a decision that you want to make. Uh, are you actually hungry? Are you not hungry? Are you wanting comfort? Is what's going on with you right now emotionally? When you tap into that and you ask your intuitive self, and you wait and you listen calmly, your intuitive self tells you. That is what emotional intelligence is to me. It's really, learning how to trust that voice that's coming from you and following it. And when you do that, you're never going to be subject to all of the
Mm.
whims of the world. You're going to be staying true to your values.
Yep.
You're going to be staying true to the vision of what you want for your life, and you're not going to be swayed by somebody's fearful mindset over here telling you you can't do it, especially when you see a pathway to what you want to do. I mean, that happened to me all throughout my schooling. I heard, you'll never do this, you can't do that,
Well,
you're gonna fail at that. And I was like, you know what, if I listen to you, yeah, you'd be right. But I'm not, that is not what I want. And when I focus on what I want, and especially when I was grounded through my nervous system, I got what I wanted. So, if people want to work with you, Reg, if they are curious about you and need to have a workshop with you or sessions with you, how do they find you?
I think the best place would be, by the way, I just want to quickly tap into that point about your talk. Yeah, that was brilliant, that point you made about it was in the context of uh, consumption and food and that, but it has a broader implication to everything. I think everyone should watch that talk and listen to it carefully on what you spoke about. Listening to your body, and it's no different here, right? Listen to
Thank
your
you.
body, feel into the feelings, understand the emotion, have a healthy relationship with them, and that will affect your eating habits for sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
Thank you.
in terms of learning about us, yeah, I think the best place would be neuromastersacademy.com. If there's a video on there that explains our energy cube methodology, that's a great place to start. It's a 5 to 10 minute video, and how I think about this. May try to make it very, very simple in the form of an what's called the energy cube, which is the
Mm.
title of my book as well, the energy cube secret. So if they subscribe from the website, just subscribe to download, then they will remain informed of. I run quite a few free seminars through the year, and
Mhm.
and of course, if they want to learn or understand and experience the techniques and be qualified to either work with themselves or others, then they'll find information on the programs that you run throughout the year.
Wonderful. Okay, Reg. Well, I do hope everybody goes and learns more about Reg, the work he's doing. I think it is so valuable to take a look at what's in our minds and to, maybe take a second look at it and figure out what's working for you and what's not working for you. And Reg can really help you with that. Reg, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. It's been great being here.
And thank you, everyone, for tuning into the ANEW Insight Podcast. I'm looking forward to the next exciting interview and really hope you join me next time. Thanks for tuning into the ANEW Insight Podcast. Please remember the contents shared on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. You can find us anywhere podcasts are streaming, on YouTube at my.anew.insight and at anew-insight.com under the ANEW Insight Podcast tab. And follow us on our socials at my.anew.insight on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more updates. Tune in next time and evolve with us.